7 of college football. It is my favorite day of the week during my favorite time of the year. It's college football Saturday. We've got a full slate of games today and a slew of handicappers stopping by to give their opinion on today's games. Got all kinds of computer problems going on, but that is the nature of the beast here in the tech world. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's like my monitor is shut down or something, and then all my screens, I don't know where they actually go. I think they just disintegrate or something. But that's life. Joe, how you doing this morning?
Awesome. I've had 2 pots of coffee. No one can say that I need a coffee this morning. I'm excited for today's college card.
Well, I drink 2 pots of coffee. No one has to wonder if I need another cup of coffee. They have to wonder if I have to do something else. So hopefully, if that's the problem, you just let us know. If Joe disappears, we know exactly where she went. So we'll be all set.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
We'll be all set. But anyways, last night we had 4 college football games. They're all pretty good games. Most of them, I think, in one respect or the other. I mean, even the blowout game, the North Texas Marshall game, came right down for the over under, right down to the end. One of those, basically Marshall just sat down and let North Texas score and caught the over. For those of us that were on the over, guilty as charged. But I'll take it any way I can get it. And then we still have baseball going on too. And I posted the NLCS and ALCS videos this morning. So if you didn't see those, I posted those today. A little bit behind, but anyways, Joe, you're tearing it up this college football season. You're right near the top of the leaderboard.
I'm so excited for this. It's been a great start to college football for me. And I think it has to do with Mitch. We are talking college football all week long. So we're really getting ingrained in these games and able to pick out these best bets for everyone.
It's funny because Joe always talks about how much I know about college football. And I think that kind of gets in the way of my picking because I want to talk to Big Al when he comes on, because I get stuck on teams, it's like I can't help myself. And these are teams that I've been stuck on for years. It's not like all of a sudden I'm stuck on these guys. It's like I'm just stuck on them. It's not necessarily my favorite teams either, just teams you just get stuck on them, or you get, the stigma the other side of it too. And it's, it's something common in sports betting. I think it's something that, that's something that happens to a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. It does. We get so ingrained in our head how this team actually should perform.
The $15 picks, I just didn't have time to do it. So that's really what it came down to. I mean, you guys saw the show came on 10 minutes late. It's not because I'm sleeping, so I didn't have time to do it. Maybe I'll put one up for later. Still plenty of time. So that's probably what I'll do at some point. Maybe when someone else is talking, I'll post one.
Well, we got a million games today, it feels like, Mitch.
Yeah, the thing is that as college football, as the season goes on, the cupcake games are kind of out of the way. We're into conference play. There's some teams still playing out of conference games, like we have Wisconsin against Army, games like that. But for the most part, it's big guys against big guys, and that's the way that it kind of should be in college football. I never really understood how they look at overall record and then they say, this is what they do every year in college football. And it's like, everyone knows this is my favorite day of the week during my favorite time of year and all that other stuff. And, but the thing is that they do this every single year. I mean, every single year they do this, right? They play these cupcake games, then they start looking at records, right? Even though it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. Michigan plays 70 home games a year. It's like Florida plays 70 home games a year. Other guys are on the road the whole time. Other guys are playing ranked teams. They say, well, the formula works itself out. No, the formula doesn't work itself out because the teams then play head-to-head. And then what happens is, depending on when these games happen, teams can have identical records like Ohio State and Oregon. And while Oregon may not have looked as sexy against this team or that team, they beat the crap out of Ohio State. I mean, they beat the dog crap out of them. And that was in Columbus. No excuses, yet Ohio State 4 places ahead of Oregon in the polls with identical records.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, the eye test. The eye test is based upon how many asses you can put in the seats to watch the games that they could sell commercials to. I think that it's time for a 16-team playoff, and the only way that that's going to happen is if Cincinnati can get in. And I think they're going to get screwed as well if Alabama knocks off Georgia in the SEC title game, because what will happen then, they'll put Georgia in, they'll put Alabama in, they'll put Iowa in, and then they'll put in Oklahoma, right? So it'll be those 4, and it'll be Cincinnati on the outside looking in, undefeated, with the world screaming, But if Cincinnati somehow gets in over a 1-loss Alabama team, then there will be massive sweeping change to the way that these things are done. But anyways, I could talk about this stuff all day long. I love it. This is what I do. And we're going to bring in our first guest for today. And, of course, this is our College Football Saturday show. And let me see. We're going to bring in the first couple of Vegas. Welcome to our show, Joe and Dionne D'Amico. Good morning. A little bit crazy over here. I just hit the podcast button, so I'm a little bit slow on that, so everyone missed my little tirade.
Good morning, Mitch.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
So you guys went to the game last week, that Bears-Raiders game. Are you still seeing yellow from all the penalty flags that they threw in that game? I mean, do you think that the refs had something in for Gruden as well there? Because it just seemed like there was an inordinate amount of penalty flags, not just in that game, but across the NFL last week.
In hindsight, Mitch, knowing what we know now after Gruden resigned and all these other things, I haven't read every article or column on it, so I can't speak totally in detail or educated about the emails or whatever was done wrong. But there was something, looking back in hindsight, there was an odd feeling at the game, throughout the game. There really was. There was obviously some things going on in the locker room or this week or the week leading up to the game that us, the public, really didn't know about too much or weren't, abreast of. And it showed during the Raiders were just flat. There was a lot of things going on. I will tell you this, Mitch. It's the 4th time we've been there for a game. We saw 3 Raider games, saw the BYU-Arizona game at the beginning of the season. But during the 3 Raider games, all 3 times, the visiting teams were louder and seemed to have more fans in the stands than Raider fans. And, I know that this is a transient town and a tourist town, but, Vegas wanted a pro team for a long time. And I put something up on social media. I said, Vegas people, you wanted a pro team. Get your butts out here to Allegiant, man. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing when visitors are coming. You really only see that, to be honest with you, when Yankees travel. You see a lot of Yankee fans, and when they're traveling, sometimes they seem a little more overwhelming, no matter where they play, than the hometown team they're playing. This is 3 times we've been there for 3 home games, Mitch. 3 times the visiting fans seem to. I'll tell you what, there were more Bears fans there than there was Raider fans.
I would say there was probably about a good 70%, I think, of the stadium was Bears fans.
Well,
I mean, everywhere you looked.
I grew up in a tourist town as well in Miami, and growing up a Hurricane fan who were never really a very good team, it was pretty often that opposing fan bases would buy season tickets to the Hurricane games just to be able to get tickets, because they knew that a large contingent of fans would be going to Miami in November to go watch the Sooners beat the crap out of the Hurricanes, and so they would buy, an entire season tickets. It was cheaper than them scalping tickets, and then they would unload the other tickets to the other fan base, headquarters or booster clubs, to do the exact same thing. And I think Vegas kind of had that in mind, when they got the Raiders, and they knew that was going to happen. And it takes time also. I think what it's going to take is for them to really win, right? I mean, that's what it takes, It takes for them to really win, to get fans to show up.
Yeah, I agree. But, it was still a fun night, and it really was. It's always a great event going there.
It's a beautiful stadium.
It's a great stadium, great place. And we're seeing more and more people tailgate. And it's easier. I mean, the first few events we attended there, Garth Brooks, and then a few other shows, It was a nightmare getting in and out. Now you could get in and out no matter what. Even if you get there an hour before game time, you're getting in and out. They shuffle traffic. There's no trouble. But the tailgating is kind of fun. Certain parking lots that you're parking around the stadium are designated for tailgating and certain are not, which is kind of nice too. But the tailgating seems to be really nice. It's nice to see that here in Vegas. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of Vegas, who do you like today, Joe?
Me? All right. I've got a nice game going off, believe early. Sports fans, we're going to talk Texas, Oklahoma State. My friends, after beating up scores of 28-7 and 41-23, and then blowing a game in last week's embarrassing 55-48 loss to rival Oklahoma, there's no doubt Texas is not going to take the 5-0 Oklahoma State team lightly. Although in his first year at the helm, head coach Steve Sarkisian knows very well that the last 4 meetings in this rivalry were each settled by 7 points or less with 2 overtimes. Yes, the Cowboy defense is pretty darn good. I'm not taking away anything from that. I'm not going to argue that. But the Longhorns offense can and will light them up. The problem I feel Okie State is going to run into here is with their very anemic offense. They account for nearly 20 points per game less than Texas. And the Longhorns, as we all know, possess a top 10 rushing attack, meaning they will keep the Cowboys defense on the field and wear them down. The Okie State offense, they just won't have the time of possession to do the same here, my friends. Here's some ATS stats. Texas, 6-1 the last 7 as a favorite, 6-2 the last 8 overall. They do get us bettors paid. I like the Longhorns in this one, guys. I think they're going to win this game. I think they win this game by 7 to 12 points, Mitch.
Joe, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm with Joe on this one. I think the Texas offense is just too strong compared to this Oklahoma one. Oklahoma is going to struggle to get those points on the board, and I think Texas will pull away. These defenses are great. Oklahoma has a good defense, but it has struggled in areas, and I think it will really struggle against Texas today. So give me Texas minus the points.
Thank you, Joe.
I got to say that Steve Sarkisian's on my list of coaches I can't stand. This guy's never been successful at the head coaching level, and I'm shocked he got the Texas job. I think that he's kind of like a way station. He's kind of like he's just there until they get the guy that they really want. So I think that they don't even want to win, so they can quickly get rid of this guy. He was a bust out at Washington. He was a bust out at USC, and I expect him to bust out at Texas too. It's going to take losses in games like this to get him the hell out of there in a hurry. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this one goes. Texas offense has been a sieve, and I think there's nothing worse than being a fan of a team than seeing your team lose late. It's like if you're going to lose early, you're going to get run over. Hey, we'll have Romanelli on. He'll tell you, but maybe he's never seen it, but I've been there at the swamp, the swamp. You go there when it's 48-0 the other way and see what it looks like in the third quarter. It's like select a seat day. Trust me, I've been there. But I think that it's that type of situation in Texas. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So I don't know. I'm a defense guy, and I think the defense for Oklahoma State just a little bit too tough. I think this game is going to come down late. When you look at the historical games between these two teams, they're tight. Even last year went overtime. It was a 7-point game, but it went overtime. The games have been very, very tight. So this could be a 4. This could be a 3. This could be anywhere within there. Like I said, I'm anti-Sarkisian, so it's just tough. It's just tough. It's just tough for me to get there. It's like I said at the beginning, it's like there's certain teams and coaches I just get stuck on, and I'm so anti-Sarkisian, I can't help myself.
No, I'm not a big fan of Steve Sarkisian. I agree with you, but I think after last week's after being up and blowing that game against one of their biggest rivals, they have to bounce back here. And, I'm not a big fan of Sarkisian, but I do like this Texas team. I think there's a lot of talent on it. I do think that their running game can keep the Okie State defense at bay a little bit. I just don't see. I see the mismatch, Mitch, with Oklahoma State's offense. I just don't think that they're going to have the time of possession.
And the laundry, believe me, the laundry is going to be pro-Texas all day long on the field. You know it. It's just the way that it is. But with Texas leaving the Big 12, I'm not so sure they're going to get the love that they normally get from the officiating crew. So it's like this could be a good one. Definitely a good one for the fans, for sure.
There you go.
Dionne, how about you?
Well, I have one game for you. Unless you looked at the new polls this week, brace yourself. Iowa is the second-ranked team in the nation. Not only are they 6-0 straight up, they are also 5-1 against the spread. Once again this season, the Hawkeyes are getting the bettors paid. Their defense, which ranks 4th in college football, is shutting down offenses completely. So much so, they really don't have any impressive stats in passing or rushing. And still, they are scoring 31.5 points per game. The Boilermakers haven't mustered better than 13 points in any of their last 3 games, won't be able to move the chains at all. They are 0-7 ATS the last 7 in conference play, 0-6 the last 6 following an ATS loss, and 2-8 against the spread the last 10 overall. So I'm going to play Iowa here.
Joe, what do you think?
I like it. I like Iowa. I also like the under in this game. I think we see 2 defenses controlling the clock in this game. Heavy run games. Iowa's 7-1 against the spread, like Dionne said. Against this Purdue team that hasn't been covering, they're 2-8 against the spread in their last 10. Iowa and heavy push on that under for me.
Yeah, Purdue is one of these teams that, and I have this discussion with, on the morning show with you guys all the time. And it's a team where the numbers might not show them as a public dog, but they're a super public dog in this game. Purdue is super public. Every comment I read is about like how Purdue gives, how Brom gives Ferentz fits and all of these things like that. Yeah, you start hearing stuff like that, I just start betting the other side. Even though it was tough for me to get to Iowa in this one because obviously they have the momentum, they have the public backing, they have all of those things, and plus 11.5 points in a conference game. But and Brom's record against Ferentz. But the issue is that you have a very public dog here in Purdue, and that is death. And I think Iowa just what we've seen from them is. The expectation, it seems almost every week now, you're expecting them to crumble. I mean, back to the Iowa State game. They were dog in that game, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, this is a very good defense. And Purdue, they couldn't move the ball on Minnesota. Good luck. Good luck is what I got to say to those guys. I like the team total under on Purdue as well in this one. Joe, you got another game for us?
Me? No, you know what?
Just the one?
I had a game I wanted to give out, but the line moved on it so much that I put it up as a premium play this morning. I've got some things on the board I can tell you about if you want, but I do want to say, Mitch, I don't know if you realize this, but being our fearless leader, today is National Bosses Day, and we wanted to say Happy National Bosses Day to the boss in charge. But I want to make one more point, though, Mitch. If you notice, that between Dionne and myself, I'm the one holding the coffee cup that says, like a boss, just in case you want to see. So she may be beating my butt in college football this season, but I'm still the boss in this house. That's all I wanted to say.
Dionne, if you could just take your phone, turn the camera on when you guys come off the air. I just want and throw that one on my YouTube channel. I could use the 10 million views on that because that I think is going to be. We'll see the who's the boss discussion from the D'Amico house.
Absolutely.
I plead the fifth on this one, buddy. I'm not touching that one.
I don't think Dionne cares what the mug says. Anyways, we appreciate you guys as always. We'll see you tomorrow morning for NFL Sunday. Thank you very much. That was Joe and Dionne.
Thanks for having us, guys.
All the best in your bets today, guys.
Guys, have a great day. Good luck to everybody out there. Have a winning day. Thank you for having us.
All right, that was Joe and Dionne, and of course they're with us just about every single weekend. You can get their picks over at PickDawgz. Didn't do the promo section. Forgot all about that, but that's okay. You can get Dionne has been lighting up the leaderboard, of course, and Joe, well, he's been around forever. He's lit up many leaderboards in his day. Got a lot of guys with us today, and so I think that Iowa game is super interesting. I mean, like I said, it's one of those games where if you look at the numbers, it looks, very public Iowa. But like I said, you look at the social media of the game, and it's all Purdue. And it's like, that is very scary and a very bad sign. And I think what we've seen historically, looking at these games that we've looked at the last several months, as we've been kind of looking at what is public and what isn't, because the data that shows us where the bets are coming from, they don't tell us where that is, right? Yeah. Where it's coming from. So how do we even know that it's true? They could just be making it up. And I think in some cases they do. I honestly do. I have no idea where it comes from. If they don't tell us where it's coming from, then how could it be trusted? Is what
Absolutely.
I say.
Yeah. And that's why I love the under in this one. I think, we look at these defenses, we look at what they can do against each other. I think that under is the solid play of the day for that one.
Well, speaking of unders, let's bring in Ron Romanelli. He's got his Houston gear on. And morning, Ron.
Oh, morning, guys. How you guys doing today?
Good. We didn't give you any heads up there. We just kind of brought you
Not
in.
at all.
I saw you looking at the camera. I figured it was okay. Normally I do a lineup and everything, but I didn't do that today. So we'll try and, for the rest of you guys, we'll try and give you a little bit of a heads up as to.
Kind of good to keep everyone on their toes, isn't it?
I think it is. I think
so.
I'm ready.
This way they're in the game,
Yeah.
So I always like to ask Romanelli about the Gator games, and today, interesting one at LSU. Of course, LSU went into Gainesville last year and beat the Gators when the Gators thought they had a shot at the playoff. They were thinking playoff. LSU goes in there and beats them up. Wasn't it like a drop punt or something happened?
It was a bunch of stuff. I was actually at the game. Marco Wilson threw one of the LSU players' shoes, and
that's right. It was the shoe throwing incident game.
Yeah, Evan McPherson missed a field goal. It was foggy. It was a crazy night, a night to remember, but for the wrong reasons.
It was a bad LSU team too, and
yeah.
But Florida LSU has always been a rivalry game. One's in the West and one's in the East. Yet they play each other every single year. So that, to me, that is when it's a rivalry game. It's kind of like Ohio State, Michigan, kind of like Florida State, Miami. Opposite sides of the same conference, yet they play each other every single year. And, LSU a couple of years ago tried to duck the Gators in their game with the Hurricane. The game was supposed to be at Gainesville. It was delayed, postponed because of a hurricane. They decided to move the date to try and find a date. LSU kept putting them off. Finally, at the end of the season, they said, well, we're just not going to play the game. And Florida's like, oh, yes, we are. And then they said, well, we're not going to travel to play there. Okay, we'll just show up at your building. And that's exactly what they did. They played a game for free, right? They didn't charge admission to the game. They said, free for everybody. And they went in there and they busted them up. Right? They just busted them. They were so mad. They just busted them up. But the thing is, Dan Mullen, he's a guy that busts up the bad teams, right? And he hasn't really busted up the good teams throughout his career. So I don't know. This LSU team looked pretty bad last week against Kentucky.
Ooh, yeah.
They looked brutal.
I was a little bit surprised to see that the spread so steep in Florida's direction, but I think it just shows you this is not a good LSU team, especially offensively. They weren't able to move the ball at all last week against Kentucky. And I know Kentucky's a solid defense, but still, it was just ugly performance. And I think both teams are trending downwards, but I think the Gators will more than likely pull this one out.
I think I like the Gators in this one as well. I just think that LSU, the quarterback play is so bad. Florida, of course, the quarterback play not much better, but I just think that what we saw from LSU is some big holes on the defense, and I think with the big injury now at LSU, their All-American corner out for this one, and I don't know if he's gone for the season or not, but he's their best player is out for LSU. So that when you have a team that's not all the way there, that usually will leave a mark, So, anyways, I always like talking Florida football with you. Anyways, what do you got going on for us today?
Well, the first game I'm going to look at is also in the SEC. It's that Ole Miss-Tennessee game. Should be a great one to watch. You look at this Ole Miss defense. It's allowing 31 points per game and allowing 438 yards per game. The rush defense has really, really struggled, especially as of late. Last week against Arkansas, gave up 6 yards per carry, 350 rushing yards. And then a few weeks ago against Alabama, also got burned on the ground, 210 rushing yards allowed. you got a Tennessee team playing at home that's able to run the football. I really like that in a home dog. Can they move the ball on the ground? And Tennessee's done it all season long. 254 rushing yards per game for Tennessee, one of the best teams in the country in terms of running the ball, 5.3 yards per carry. We know Neyland Stadium, it's not an easy place to play. And this is Ole Miss's second true road game of the season. Their first true road game at Alabama, they got squanched. I mean, it was 291 yards, only 21 points for one of the best offenses in the country. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to hold them to that number, but Tennessee's defense, it's been solid this season. 22 points allowed per game. They haven't had the hardest schedule, but they've faced some pretty decent offenses in Florida, Missouri, Pittsburgh. So, you know what? I think Tennessee is a very live dog in this game, and I actually think the points could be in play. We saw last week Ole Miss and Arkansas, score for score, and then Arkansas decided they wanted to go for two, go for the win. Couldn't get there, but a 1-point loss, that would fall right into the points in this week, getting that 2.5 with Tennessee. So I'm going to take the points with Tennessee. I think they have a great shot at pulling off the upset, but I'll take the points just in case because I could see a 1 or 2 point game either way.
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, Ron. This one is going to come down to a last possession kind of game. It scares me taking either side in this one, especially when we look at Ole Miss against Tennessee is 4 of 5 covering that spread. So I have a kind of lean on Ole Miss, but if Tennessee can get the ball in their hands for that last drive, Tennessee will come out and win this. So this is one I'm staying off. It's too close of a spread in this one. In a high-scoring offensive battle. So I'm off it, but best of luck with Tennessee. I can see them absolutely pulling it out, and there's value there.
Yeah, I love Neyland Stadium. Just a disclaimer here. It's one of my favorite places to see college football, and some of the nicest people in all of college football. Just great crowd. And it's like, what does it hold? Like 110, 120, something like that. It is massive, and
yeah,
rocky.
It's a gorgeous stadium.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Drive there through the Smoky Mountains. It's just unbelievable, right? It's crazy. But anyways, I think that this is going to be a hell of a game, and I think when you have a total in that, I don't know, was it with 14 touchdown range? Something like that.
It's in the 80s.
Yeah, 82,
sure.
so it's at 11. Yeah. So just south of 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the over. It's like it just seems they put out the big number. And the thing about this one is we saw, last week, Joe and I each did a pick at the end of the show. I gave out the over in the Ole Miss Arkansas game. It was 100 and something, right? But I think that this game has that type of potential too. I do. I think that Tennessee is definitely headed in the right direction for the first time in a while, and it's been a while since Tennessee's been relevant, probably since 98, right? Maybe 1998. When Peyton Manning graduated at 97, so it's probably 98, the year they won after Peyton Manning left, right? T. Martin's team won the national championship. I would say, college football is better when teams like Tennessee are good. I hope Tennessee wins. I'm rooting for Tennessee, but I really think it's an over game for me.
Yeah, it should be a great game, and I just think the points could be in play. It's just just like last week when I came on here, I took Virginia. It was just like a score-for-score kind of game, but getting any kind of points in those types of games, even at home, especially at home, I think there's some value there. So it may not be the prettiest one if you don't want to watch it because you're nervous with the bet. That might mean you don't want to watch this one because Ole Miss could go up, early. Just like we saw Texas last week, 28-7. You're thinking, oh, I got that one in the bag, and then Oklahoma comes out. Not only do they win, they cover the spread. So, this could have that similar type of game, but should be a good one in the SEC.
Absolutely. And as soon as Tennessee's run game can work out where those holes are in Ole Miss's defense, they will add the points to the board too. So it's going to be a fun one. I think definitely tight.
You have another game for us?
Yes, I do. I got one more in the Mountain West today. It's Colorado State and New Mexico. Look at this Colorado State team. Horrible start to the season. They lost to an FCS South Dakota State, a pretty good FCS team, but not, no excuses there to lose by almost 20 points. Then they lost to Vanderbilt, another bad loss for Colorado State. Looks like the season's going to be over right away. But they go out to Toledo, a tough MAC team. They beat them 22-6. Then they go to Iowa, obviously top 4 ranked team now, and they are actually leading 14-7 at halftime in that game at Iowa. They only lost by 10 points and held Iowa to 278 yards. So the defense really improving. Then they go back home. They play San Jose State, another tough team, tough defense. They put up 32 points against San Jose State, beat them 32-14. So this Colorado State team improved mightily over the past few weeks. Their defense has been fantastic, allowing less than 300 yards in each of the last 3 games. The offense is doing it on the ground. They've been getting 200 rushing yards or more in 3 of the last 4 games that they've played. And you look at the opposite side, you got a New Mexico team that had a pretty decent start to the season. They played some weak teams. Houston Baptist and New Mexico State got wins in those, but at Texas A&M, they got shut out 34-0. At UTEP, 20-13, they lose. At Air Force, 38-10, they got blown out. And then they got blown out last week, or the last game against San Diego State, 31-7. The offense has done nothing, especially on the ground. They're not doing much in the running game. The defense has given up the run, over 200 yards rushing the last 2 games. This is just not a good New Mexico team facing a Colorado State team that's improving every single week. I don't know how this line is so low at 11. I could see Colorado State winning by 3 touchdowns, at least 2 touchdowns. So I'll lay the points with the Rams at Colorado State. It's not really a tough home environment for New Mexico, so I'm not worried about the road game. I'll lay the points with Colorado State.
Joe?
I'm with you, Ron, on this one. You know, we have 2 offenses that really have struggled for both these teams. Both teams have struggles on the defensive side as well. But plain and simple, the Rams are the better team. Paper-wise, eye test-wise, everything. This team is going to come out. They're going to be able to run the ball against this defense that is terrible against the run. Give me the Rams all day long to get this done. New Mexico also hasn't been covering the spread. They haven't been playing well at home. They're just not a team I'd put money on this season at all.
I'm with you guys on this one. I gave out Colorado State in my PickDawgz parlay. And I feel pretty confident. I kind of regretted giving it out there because I should have given it out as a premium pick. I just loved it. So, I think Colorado State all day and twice on Saturdays.
Like it.
What do you got for sale today, Ron?
Yeah, today we got a locked and loaded card, a juicy college football card, and also a pretty hefty NHL card, off to a winning year in the NHL. But today, you can get my top 6 college football plays, and I also throw in my NHL play of the night. All 7 plays for just $45. It's about $6.40 a pick. Can't beat that price. Having a good couple days, the past few days. NHL's starting to heat up, and today's going to be a big day in college football. Really liking the card today, so join me at PickDawgz Premium, and we'll put some money in your pocket.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Ron. Of course, we appreciate you, and we will see you tomorrow.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
What's up with
Good luck,
the Houston gear?
Yeah, I got to mention it. So, last week Houston took on Tulane, and I had the over in the premium area in that one. And it was looking pretty good the whole way, but Houston started to pull away. And the game script kind of forced me in a bad spot where Houston was just chewing the clock, running the ball. And it didn't look good. It looked like they were just going to, ease the game out and it was going to go under the total. But with a minute left, they had one more play that they were going to run before they were going to start kneeing the ball and just end the game. But they had one more run at it at the 35-yard line. And Alton McCaskill, my favorite person in the world, he got the ball. And obviously Tulane's going to stack the box and just try to stop the run. But he juked one man and had open field. He didn't pull a Nick Chubb. He went right in the end zone, touchdown, cashed the over. And right away I went online, bought my hat and my shirt. Big Houston fan now and love Alton McCaskill. So that's why I had to represent the Cougars today.
Go Cougars.
Go Cougs.
All right. Well, there you have it.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's a nice story. We have we appreciate you coming on, Ron, and of course we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. That was Ron Romanelli. Now, next we're gonna have Jovan Burts. Give him a little heads up there. Something that we haven't been doing a great job at on this show. But Joe, so far, a couple cappers out. Anything jump off the page at you here?
No, nothing's really jumping off the page at me after talking to these guys. We've got some great games, and I'm excited for the ones that they've covered. Couple I'm looking to stay away from, but it's going to be a fun day of college football.
I'm a little bit mad that I didn't give Colorado State as a premium. I'm kind of
I didn't either.
I'm kind of a little miffed about that because I really like that one too, and so oh well.
It definitely is a great one. So you guys jump on that.
Yeah, I lost my window, but now I've found it again. I'm having some difficulties back here today.
Yeah. So I tell you, sometimes I do the same thing. I don't know where they go. Just disappear.
It just what would happen is I came in and all my screens were blank. I have like a bunch of monitors, on my desk and all around and everything. And I came in and everything was blank. So it happens some days, but we've got Jovan with us now, and here he is. Jovan, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How's it going this morning? You ready for some college football action?
Oh, I'm ready every week.
Well, Jovan lives in the Boston area, and I got to say, one of the nicest areas in the country around this time of year. The foliage is usually off the chain. How's it looking right now? Is it starting to really turn up there?
Yeah, leaves on the ground, colors galore on the trees, the leaves falling off, the cars, filled up with leaves, that sort of thing.
We don't get that here, so it's kind of it's just a different world. We just have colors all the time, bright colors all the time.
Keep rubbing it in, Mitch.
It's okay. Don't worry about it, Joe. It's all good.
At least it's not cold yet here.
I always say, you guys just stop worrying about me. Really, just don't worry. I'm gonna be okay. But anyways,
you'll make it through.
I really like today's college football card as well. So what have you got going on for us to get things started?
Yeah, so I got two plays by particular, like both totals. So the first one I'm gonna look at is Kentucky going into Athens, playing the number one team in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, let's just get this one right out the way. Georgia Bulldogs, number one defense in the land, from top to bottom. So Kentucky's not going to get anything. They might not sniff the end zone. In the last two games, they've outscored their two opponents, which was Arkansas and Auburn, 71 to 10. Yeah, I don't look at Kentucky as anywhere near having the offensive firepower as Arkansas. So I just think that they're not gonna really get much, on the ground, which is what they do. They got a good running attack, but dealing with Georgia, it's not gonna happen. But on the other side, you have Georgia. The last 2 years they played Kentucky, they've only managed 14 points and 21 points. So, and Kentucky does have a good defense. They're formed, on their own. So, with this low total, I just don't think think that they're going to get there.
Well, since you brought it up, I have to ask, where does the name Crevassier Smoke rank in the all-time college football name list? Is he somewhere in between maybe I Am Hip and I mean, he's definitely got to be up there, right? I mean, Crevassier Smoke, it's like you don't hear that one every day, but when you watch Kentucky, he certainly has been carrying the rock really well. Of course, Rodriguez has done a nice job there. It'll be interesting to see how those guys do against that Georgia D, though. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on the under on this one. This is going to be a game in the trenches for both these teams. The defenses are both so strong. Georgia's only allowing an average of 5.5 points per game for their opponents. Kentucky is still phenomenal as well at 17.5. This is going to be a strong, heavy defensive game where, these teams are going back and forth, limited scoring. So give me the under.
this one comes down to the short field for me. It's like whoever can create that shorter field is going to win and cover this game. I think Georgia's going to win the game. I just think it's a matter of how many points Kentucky can score and how many points they can keep Georgia from scoring. Obviously, if they can create a longer field for Georgia, it's going to make it a little bit tougher on them. One issue with Kentucky is that under Stoops, their first 6 games, they've been really good, and then the last 6 games, they have not been very good, and then they usually will play okay in the bowl game. So it's like we need to watch out for that as well. But this should be a great one between the hedges. I have no play in this game, that's for sure. Not going anywhere near this thing. But I will be watching as a fan.
Absolutely.
You got another game for us as well, or just one today?
Yeah, well, we're gonna stick with the SEC. You know, I kind of like the SEC. You know, betting. I just like the way they play. You know, mostly defense, but you have some offensive teams. You know, so we're gonna tackle this Ole Miss and Tennessee game. You know, I'm looking at the total on this one, and contrary to a lot of people, I'm on the under in this one. You know, I think when you're dealing with 2 high-powered offenses, you know, everyone expects from the opening kickoff for it to be scoring. And I think that in this game, they're going to start off slow. Now, you look at Tennessee's defense, they actually do play some sort of defense. You know, they're 46 in the country in yards allowed, and they have a hell of a Russian defense. You know. So, you know, it's going to be strength against strength. You know, Ole Miss is number 5 in the country and they're running attack. And so I think that starting off at least in the first quarter, maybe going into the second quarter, that we're not going to see 7s on the board. We might see a couple 3s. We might see we might see a 0. You know, sometimes you have to anticipate that even if it's 2 offensive juggernauts, they might not, you know, just light the world on fire. Now, later on in the game, you know, they might, you know, start scoring. But I just think in this one, it's gonna fall just below the total, which is, you know, huge, 82. So that's what I'm looking at on this one. They start off slow and just doesn't get to the total on this one.
I love saying 12 touchdowns. Joe, what do you think?
I think this one flies over. I'm looking for this pigskin to be flying back and forth on the field of this one. I would take all of the overs. Ole Miss team total over, first half over, game over. I love a high scoring game in this one. I don't see it hitting below 85. Yep. And we've got 82.
Call me square. I'll take the over also in this one. I don't care. You call me square as you want.
Well, you'll know by halftime what it's going to be.
We'll know in the first 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Hey, right. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll know in the first 5 minutes. You know, last night, you know, in the game that, you know, I thought was a clear over all the way, that North Texas, you know, Marshall game, we saw 49 points in the first half, and then there was no points in the third quarter. So you're never really sure how these things are going to go. But, you know, I think
games like that drive me crazy. You think you've got it in the bag by halftime, and no.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, the Monday night game looked to be purely over, right? You know, in the first half. And then
21 points in the first quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it went way under. So you're just never really sure how it's going to go out. But, yeah, I think that, you know, we just haven't seen the defense from Ole Miss yet to make me believe that they're going to stop anybody. And maybe if Tennessee tries to go, you know, at a more deliberate pace, but I don't even think they know how to do that either. I don't think they have much defense either. So this should be a good one either way. I don't know. I just like saying 12 touchdowns.
There you go.
Yeah, it's 3 touchdowns per quarter. It's basically what we're looking
at. I think it might have less to do with the defense and more to do with no offensive execution.
I will tell you one thing. This will be a great place to be today, is at Neyland Stadium. It's probably going to be beautiful there. And like you know, we talked about earlier, just I think, you know, when you get these SEC games and, you know, at this time of year, and it's just, you know, it's what college football is all about. It's like, I mean, I went there as a visitor, and it was, they got me too. So it's like, I was ready to buy some Tennessee gear too, the big T, Anyways, what do you got for sale today at PickDawgz?
Yeah, so I got my Saturday shootout. Nine plays for my package. $49.99. Last week I left a couple on the board. It had more to do with the selection process than the games because I had winners. But you cap the games and then you get to the second part, which is a crucial part, which is the selection process and what you're going to put on as a premium and what you're going to leave by the wayside. And I made a mistake with a couple that I second guessed myself and I paid the price for it. But this week, I'm coming in locked and loaded for this Saturday, and I think I got 9 that are gonna be some real hitters. So check me out.
All right, that was Jovan. We appreciate you coming by. You're gonna be by tomorrow as well for NFL Sunday.
Know it, absolutely.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow then for NFL Sunday. Jovan Burts, lighten it up.
Best of luck.
Lighten it up. Anyways, Joe, 2 different opinions now on this Tennessee Ole Miss game. Over, under. It's like, I don't know. I just see a ton of points in this thing.
So do I. And, a couple of mistakes that could go under, but I don't think these 2 teams make mistakes, not with the holes in both of their defenses. I think we just see a high power scoring game.
When you get into those 80 totals, it's like, who knows? But the guy that knows about, big totals is Chris Ruffolo. He's going to be up next with us. And, Chris is been doing a lot of hockey recently, too. So maybe we'll have to see. I know you're a big hockey person, Joe, and everyone knows I'm not a big hockey person. So we will probably get his take on some of that. And, with the way the season has started in the NHL, we've seen everybody play, I think, at this point.
Yep.
So
we've seen lots of dogs take the win.
I haven't seen them, but I know that you guys have been watching it for me. But,
my Calgary Flames play today. That will be exciting to watch.
Well, we bring in Chris. And Chris, what do you think about this NHL season so far? Any big surprises?
Well, we've taken our lumps. That's for sure. It's been just a lot of upsets.
I said, are there any big surprises? I mean, we know.
Wow.
I don't think you taking your lumps is any big surprise. I'm just kidding.
No, the I'll say the Anaheim Ducks, for a team that were absolutely terrible last year, have actually looked all right through the first couple of games. Took the loss last night, but there's still a few teams that have to take the ice today for the first time. It's going to be interesting to see. It's our heaviest day of the schedule so far, 14 games today, so I'm ready for it.
All right. Well, what do you got in college football action for us today? You have one game, 2 games? How many games you got?
I have 2 games for you guys today.
All right. Well, what do you got?
All right. My first one, I'm going to look at this Iowa State and Kansas State matchup. Now, I'd understand if Iowa State was a favorite at home against Kansas State, but this line on the road confuses me a little bit as to why it's still sitting near a touchdown. Brock Purdy, it's been decent for the Cyclones this season, almost on pace to match his numbers from last year, where he threw for almost 2,900 yards, 19 touchdowns, 9 picks. This year, he's got 1,133 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But 7 of those touchdowns came against UNLV and Kansas, who are combined 0-10, with 179 points for and 403 points against this season. The rest, 56 of 86 passing, not bad, but with 1 touchdown and 4 picks, and with that touchdown, 3 interceptions coming against Iowa, who's one of the best defensive units in the country. And numbers like that, I don't think they're going to fly against the Kansas State team with a pretty good pass rush. It could throw Purdy from his rhythm early on. Skylar Thompson threw for 320 yards a couple weeks ago, but the caveat was that he couldn't run the football, so you give him an extra week to rest up. With Bill Snyder Memorial Stadium, one of the more underrated home environments, I think, in all of college football, not just the Big 10. The Big 12, excuse me. I think Kansas State has a chance to win this one outright, but I'm taking the points.
Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I like them with the points. I think Kansas State does enough to keep relevant in this game, Skylar Thompson, their quarterback, I actually really believe in him. I think this Iowa team does come out and win it. They're 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 versus Kansas State. I can see them getting the win, but I don't think they get the cover in this one. So I think Kansas State plus the points is the best bet in this matchup.
Great cover coach too. One of the best cover coaches, especially in conference games in all of college football. Iowa State comes in, seriously disappointing. This was a team that was ranked top 10. The game again, they were favored against Iowa, in that game. And, here they are favored on the road again. They were favored in the game against Baylor that they lost. So, they've disappointed, no doubt. But I'll tell you what, Matt Campbell becomes available. I think Mike Haynes will be knocking on that door, because this guy can flat out coach and win games. Imagine if he does that at Iowa State. Imagine what he could do at South Florida recruiting. Just a little shout out to Coach Campbell if he's interested. Anyways, Chris, what else you got for us?
Well, my other one, I know that Camp Randall, one of the toughest home environments in the Big Ten. But even with Wisconsin against Army, I'm not laying 2 touchdowns in this spot. The Badgers, they do have a 2-3 record with losses to Michigan, Notre Dame, and Penn State. And while the Black Knights aren't in that tier of the college football spectrum, those 3 losses have something in common. Wisconsin's struggling to run the football compared to their 2 wins. You look at the 3 losses, 43 rushing yards against Michigan, 74 against Notre Dame, and 174 against Penn State in a 16-10 loss, which tells me that they were getting the field position but just couldn't punch it in when they needed to. The 2 wins against Illinois and Eastern Michigan, 391 rushing yards against Illinois, 352 against EMU. It tells me that the key for Wisconsin's success and is going to be running the football successfully, and against the top-ranked rush defense in the country, that's going to be tough to cover, let alone cover 2 scores. But Army, an option offense predicated on running the football, obviously, against the second-ranked rush defense in the country. Man, it's going to be tough.
Whoa. Did you say predicated?
What?
Big words here.
Those are too big of words for a Saturday morning.
Yeah,
I was using my word of the day
easy
calendar.
On the big words.
I was using my word of the day calendar. Yesterday, it was cookie. No, I'm kidding. I think it's going to be tough to cover 2 scores. We talk about the pass. Army, still respectable, 60th in the country. And they're not getting beaten that badly to the air. Bottom line, I think this is going to be a black and blue game. You guys talked about that Ole Miss Tennessee game. This game starts half an hour later and probably finish half an hour before. I think there's going to be just that much running the football. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams finished under 20 points here. I don't think it's going to be pretty or flashy, but I'm taking Army in the points.
I will cut him some slack. He doesn't have Jake Luton anymore. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think we're seeing a low-scoring game, and Army plus the points would be my best bet in this. This is one that I, thought about putting as a premium play because I really do think Army is undervalued in this, and I think the spread should be tighter, but it didn't make it. Wisconsin is a good team, and if they find the holes in Army and are able to get more time of possession, they could cover this, but I don't see it happening. I think Army covers with the points today.
Yeah, I'm going to take a Ruffolo on this one because I just think that, for me, Army is just they're a possession team and a keep away team and 4-down team, right? It's like they don't punt; they just go for it. 4 down, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards is the way that they do it. But Wisconsin is just big, right? So they can lean on a team like this, and if they can do it back to them, and then they do get Army into that 3rd down where they got to punt, or even worse, a passing situation, right? It's not going to be good. I don't know. Paul Chris is such a jerk. I could see him even, pounding a military school, It's like these guys that, thank you for your service, right? It's like, how about like a few years ago when Navy played at Ohio State? It was like they had to send out memos before the game to all the season ticket holders and fans, like not to boo Navy when they run out of the tunnel. Come on, And I think it's going to be similar here with Paul Chris, and, I know Camp Randall, another, great place to see a game. And, I've talked about the kettle corn before, but I think that, this one is one I'll probably be staying away from. I just think that I could see Wisconsin leaning on them and going 35-0 here too. I could see it going either way. I could see Army, because Paul Chris is such a bad coach. I could see him coaching his team into like a 17-10 type thing. But at the same time, I could see 35-0 also, type game. So it's just, I don't know. Other places I'd rather be. Chris, what are you selling today?
Today I got my Shotgun Saturday 7-pack. Cover you from the 12 o'clock slot all until the late games tonight. Or if you kind of want to break up your day a little bit, I got 5 games from the 12 to 4 o'clock slot. And I got 3 from 7 o'clock onwards, including my bookie bailout buster. It's one play that sells for $25 on its own. So definitely check those out over PickDawgz Premium, or this is the time to go on long term, because we always say it's when the sports are starting to overlap. So this is going to be some of your best value for those longer term packages, whether it's me or with someone else as part of the 2-for-1 capper deal.
Scherzer Fried or total?
Oh gosh. Fried.
All right. There you have it. Braves for Ruffolo. Anyways, thanks, Chris, for joining us. And, of course, we'll see you tomorrow. And, of course, every day on the drive-thru. Plus, the slew of hockey videos out there today. I think he did 73 hockey videos today.
Close. So you might have to carry the one. I'm not sure.
I don't watch hockey, but I watch hockey videos. Anyways, thanks, Chris, for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Best of luck, Chris.
That was Chris Ruffolo. Of course, you can see him every day, Monday through Friday, on the drive-thru. And, of course, on those hockey videos. Plus, he does soccer videos, too. We didn't even ask him about the soccer.
Oh, I didn't know he did soccer
he
as
does
well.
soccer. He does it all. He does it.
Soccer is just one sport. I don't handicap because I can't watch it.
Like hockey
I
for
get
me.
so bored watching soccer.
That's like hockey for me.
Yeah.
That's like hockey for me. It's just a tough. I think, and the thing is, I love watching hockey live at the arena, but like on TV and stuff, it's like, I don't know. It's just, I can't follow the puck.
Well, did you like it when they used to have the puck like glowing?
No, I don't.
They had a red line following it and stuff?
No.
That was awful.
Yeah,
I hated when they did that.
It was terrible. But I think that, for me, it's just, I think when you see it live and you have you're up a little bit, you see the plays develop and the whole strategy all come together. It's a lot different than seeing it on TV where they're like, who in the hell even knows what's going on? It always looks like they're magically in position. The play just happens. It's kind of, I think because that's such a big part of hockey, is the way the whole play sets up. And you lose that on TV.
Yeah, you absolutely do.
It's weird. I had never seen live hockey until I went to college, and then I went to a hockey school. It was like,
oh really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. BU always in the, contending for the national championship, always. Anyways,
I love it.
Bring in Rod Zawacky. Rod, how are you today? Helps when you turn your mic on to the on position.
Good. Now it's on. I'm doing good. Morning.
Morning. We were just talking hockey behind your back.
Nice.
Any surprises for you so far this hockey season through just a couple of games?
Well, the only surprise for me is how bad the Rangers have been. I figured that they would come out and start the season a little better than what they have. But it's still early. It's only 2 games in. Still 80 more games to go for a lot of these teams. Some of these teams are just playing their first game today. So lots of hockey left to go this season.
Well, what do you got?
Are you a Rangers fan?
Sort of.
He's got a banner behind him. So that's usually the dead. It's when the bandwagon's roll and Rod is there. Everyone knows it's like, back up the bandwagon, pile Rod in. But Rod, what do you got for us today for a pick?
Well, first we're going to go with, we're going to start off with the Baylor game. Baylor and BYU. For me, this Baylor team's pretty good on both sides of the ball. The under, probably not a bad bet in this here, but I think Baylor gets the win by a touchdown. You look, Baylor 4-1 their last 5 games, straight up 8-2 their last 10, following a straight up win. They lost their first one there, and then they bounced back and got a nice beat down last week. Gary Bohannon, the quarterback, completing 66% of his passes. He's got 11 touchdowns, no picks. Thrown for over 1,300 yards. He's got a nice couple of running backs with Smith and Ebner. I like Baylor here today. BYU, they're 1-4 their last 5 off of straight up loss. So I think BYU loses again. Give me Baylor in this one.
Joe, what are you thinking?
Mitch, this is one we keep talking about all week, and I know that you prefer Baylor over BYU, but I'm sticking with BYU in this one. I think both of these defenses are super strong. I see a tighter game in this one, and taking BYU plus the points, especially with them being on the road, I think is the best way to go in this. They're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 on the road. I don't see this being a blowout by Baylor, and I've been on Baylor a lot this year. I love what I'm seeing out of them, but I think this BYU team keeps it tight.
Baylor's not generally a blowout team, and that's the truth. But they've played a much tougher, they've had a much tougher road than BYU, and BYU kind of middle of the pack as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I've been more on Baylor in this matchup. I think BYU, when you look at them statistically, they're, like I said, middle of the pack. I know they beat Arizona State. I think that was their best win of the season. But last week, they got punched in the mouth. I mean, they got the call of all calls to go up 10-0 on Boise. And once that call happened, Boise just, I don't know, something lit a fire under them. And it was game over. And BYU had no answers whatsoever. I mean, nothing. They could not punch back at all. And I think Baylor's going to hit them even harder. So I think they might be in some trouble here. But that's just me. Rod, what else you got for us?
Well, another one I've been sticking to. I'm going to go with Washington State here. Stick with the Cougars, playing Stanford. Both teams 3-3 on the season. Both teams 3-3 against the number. But Washington State's 3-0. ATS their last 3, and the Cardinals just been awful. You look, Washington, they're 4-0 ATS their last 4 in October. Stanford 0-5 last 5 meetings versus these Cougars. So for me, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm going to stick with the Washington Cougars here. I know it's Washington -1 now in places I've seen. I've seen it at Pick'em, so it's moved to Washington State. I like Washington State here to get the win. Give me the Cougars over Stanford in this one.
Joe?
Oh, I want to take Stanford in this. This one hasn't made my card, but I look at the Stanford team, and I know Washington State is doing well. Stanford, though, is 6-3 against the spread in their last 9. They're playing hard, and they've had some games in which I didn't think they were going to win, that they have come out and win. I believe in them more than this Washington State team. Washington State is 4-9 against the spread in their last 13. Stanford is 7-3 straight up in their last 10. I'm going to jump on Stanford in this one.
I don't know. I have a policy, and call me superstitious, but you bet on a game with 2 teams with the same colored uniforms, you get what you get. You're gonna. I mean, I learned it from that Syracuse Auburn Sugar Bowl, the 10-10 tie. It's like I think that this is just one of those games. I could make an argument either way in this one. I like Washington State. I like the way that they played last week. Stanford, I think, has been more hot and cold. We saw them, beat Oregon, and then we saw them get slaughtered by UCLA. We saw them get beat by Kansas State in the opener. They just got absolutely clobbered, So it's like, who knows what's going to happen? Of course, Nick Rolovich, also one of the worst cover coaches in all of college football for Washington State. So a guy that I like to steer clear of, So once again, like I said, 2 teams, same color uniform. I'll just use that as my out.
Same color uniforms. I'm out.
Hey, you don't see me here talking about the TCU Kansas State game either, right? It's like when they're playing. It's like,
there we go.
Like, what is the odds of purple and silver being used twice? I mean, in the same conference, it's like it just doesn't happen.
I love it. I learn something new about you every day.
Rod, what are you selling today at PickDawgz?
For me, over at PickDawgz today, I've got a nice 5-pack, my Super Saturday 5-pack. All day Super Saturday. Got you covered in college football. You get all 5 of my best bets over there. Or you can get my 10-star NHL slap shot play We're 3-0 on that one. And keep it rolling. You can get it singled over there by itself for $15, guaranteed winner. Jump on over to PickDawgz Premium and scoop it up. We're gonna have a big day off a nice 3-in-1 day yesterday. I'm excited. And I don't know what Chris talking about. That PickDawgz package has been rolling. We did take our lumps in the beginning, but we won our last 3 and we've been rolling right along. Jump on over and grab that too. That'll make you some money long term. Jump aboard. Hockey's not a bad bet.
Abso-frickin-lutely. Better than the lucky penny. Anyways, thanks, Rod. We'll see you, of course, for our premium show later on today. And, of course, we'll also see you tomorrow and every day here on our live show.
Thank you. Have a good, wonderful day, and let's get some winners.
Well, Joe,
Best of luck, Rod.
Joe, just a couple guests left to go for today. We've got Al McMordie up next, and then, of course, Brian to bring us home with I don't know. We should come up with like a nickname for Brian, like All Smiles. Brian, like we ran a nickname contest for Brian, and it was always like Brian the Sharp and Brian whatever. But I think it's All Smiles, you know. It's
All
just,
Smiles?
Yeah, something like that. What do you think?
Well, you guys leave in the comments what should Brian's nickname be.
I don't know if we want to do that.
Okay, don't
it all
leave
depends
in the
if he's
comments.
winning or losing, right? I mean, it's like it's almost unfair. But let's bring in Al. Al's been red hot lately. He had a little cold streak, but he just bounced right off the floor, and he has been on the heater ever since. I don't want to jinx him too much, but Al, how's it going?
I think you just jinxed me.
I don't think so. I was saying
we'll find out tomorrow morning, right?
I've been saying, all along today, and you ever get stuck on a team like for years? It's like they either did you dirty or they've done you well in the past, so you just get stuck on them. Are you able to just wipe the slate clean? Like
I've never gotten stuck on a team. I never think, oh gosh, that team screwed me 3 weeks ago. I can't take them. That's my mindset. Thank God. I mean, because I know a lot of guys who are like that. They get burned by a team. They're like, oh, they're off my list or whatever. But there's a lot of guys, and thank God I've not fallen into that. It's maybe my clients sometimes wish I would have fallen into that, but when you keep going back to the well and taking that dog shit team, but no, that's just not the way I operate.
No, it happens, and it's like it doesn't happen to me all the time, but I have a few where it's like this ECU quarterback right now. I can't stand him. I just can't.
I've got a good friend who refuses to play on Urban Meyer.
Yeah, so. It's just you get into these things. I have Sarkisian is another one of my guys, but. Joe, what were you going to say? I cut you off there.
I was going to say that's Kansas for me, and it's also Jared Goff. So those two, kryptonite.
Yeah, Jared Goff, you do have that thing, that anti-Goff.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did it once this season, even though last season I said I swore I would never bet with Jared Goff again. Made my mistake.
Well, what do you got for us today?
Well, let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs then. They're once again, they're favored by a large number against a very good team. Both Kentucky and Georgia are undefeated this year at 6-0. Coincidentally, they're also both 5-1 against the spread. That's really where the similarities end. Georgia has the number one defense, historically a great defense, in the country this season, giving up just 5.5 points per game. They're not only number one this year in defensive scoring, they're also number one in point spread differential. They're covering the spread by an average of 14.66 points per game, the only team above 14 in all of college football. And that's Kentucky's 8.1, so that's 6.56 less than what Georgia's doing, against the spread. So Georgia's just a much superior team than Kentucky. The relative scoring margin between these two teams is also pretty high, 20.83. So that explains why this number is sitting at 21.5 points. A lot of people look at the number and, their eyes bug out. They think, Kentucky's undefeated and all. But when you look at the relative scoring margin, you look at the points for a differential, it makes a lot of sense, even when Georgia, might be playing with their second string quarterback once again. I'm going to take Georgia minus the points in this ballgame and go against the undefeated Wildcats. When you take a look at how double-digit road underdogs do when they've got a really good win percentage, when the win percentage is 857 or better, and that's at game 5 forward. Those teams have covered just 37% over the last 42 years when they're playing an opponent off a straight-up win. Georgia's also pretty strong in the category of playing winning SEC opponents. When Georgia's favored in the ball game, they're 29-15 ATS, including 6-1 ATS if their opponent is undefeated in SEC conference play. I'm laying the 21.5 with Georgia.
Joe?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think Georgia's going to have a fantastic day. And I'm loving this under again to you guys. We're going to have such a battle in the trenches with this one. And I think Georgia comes out on top. They are the way better team. Their defense is holding teams to 5.5 points per game on average. And I think Kentucky is really going to struggle to score.
I haven't loved the Georgia quarterback situation, and I do like the running backs, but I think the offense is average. I think the defense is one of the best I've ever seen. Probably the best defense since 94 Miami. Really, it is that good. And maybe or 2001 Miami. Either of those two. It's as good as those. And Kirby Smart, the thing is that he loses a ton of players to the transfer portal every single year too, which is pretty amazing. And that just shows you how many top recruits this guy gets. I think this one's going to come down to field position, though. It's a ton of points, and it's a lot of things. Kentucky's got the two running backs, Chris Rodriguez, Crevassier Smoke. That they've done a nice job, but they haven't played this defense, either. So, I don't know. It's for me. I understand Georgia's been crushing the spread, but I don't know. I think it's going to come down to field position. We'll know early. If they do what they did to Arkansas and just, come out and, bust them up, it'll be over in a hurry because Kentucky will have no answers. But they have a big physical quarterback. They've got, two good running backs. I don't know. To me, it's a pass, but I see it. What else do you have for us, Al?
Oh, let's go over to the Mid-American Conference. Last week, Western Michigan. This game to me was a head scratcher. It came out of nowhere. They were favored by 13.5 points against Ball State at home. They were upset 45-20. So they failed to cover the point spread by 38.5 points. And not surprisingly, the reason was turnovers. They had 4 turnovers and they forced none in return. But they had been playing really well before that game, which is really why it was just a huge head scratcher for me. I think they might have been on a 3-0-1 ATS run going into that ball game. I think this is a really good spot for them to bounce back. Back-to-back home games are going to be back in front of their home faithful here, against Kent State. And when you look at how teams do when they fail by 31 or more points of the spread in the previous game, if they're in a tight point spread range, if they're favored by 10 points or less, those teams, if they've also got a 400 or better win percentage, they do really well against a spread. And that's the situation here. These two teams also coincidentally played the Buffalo Bulls in back-to-back weeks on October 2nd and October 9th. And when you take a look at how those two teams did against that the same opponent on back-to-back weeks, Western Michigan did better than Kent State. Even though Western Michigan had to play that game on the road, Kent State had that game at home, but yet Western Michigan out-yarded Buffalo by 175, and I think Kent State was 84, or something like that. But so it was a much better performance, even though they had a disadvantage with the schedule there. So I like Western Michigan here, minus the 7 points. It's even come down a little bit to 6.5, and I'm going to lay the points with the Broncos.
I was looking at this one as a premium pick earlier. Just missed my list. Joe?
Yeah, I think home field advantage is going to be huge for Western Michigan in this. We see them; they do play well at home. They're 2-1 in their last 3 games at home. They also have a really solid defense, and I think that's going to be the key stopping this Kent State team in this matchup. So I like them to cover those points.
Yeah, Kent State.
Have you seen their
Go ahead.
Oh, Joe, have you seen their defensive splits at home this year?
No.
It's crazy. Western Michigan at home this year, 1.8 yards per rush against their opponents. And then you take a look at what Kent's, defensive yards per rush is on the road. It's 6.0. And admittedly, quality of competition has a lot to do with that. But still, it's a pretty stark difference when you look at the home road rushing splits this year on defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I looked at this one too, and it's the same thing, like you said, that Western Mich way better at home. And I think that some of their overall statistics are a little skewed also because they did schedule up like a lot of the MAC teams did. So I think they're a better team than what the numbers show. And I think that, they haven't played, I think over the course of a 12-game season, those numbers smooth out. But over, 5 or 6 games, they're still showing that Michigan game and, which maybe they were a little in. I don't think I really, going back to that game, I don't think that they were in over their head. I think that they maybe played like they were in over their head. I think they didn't. I think in order to take down a big team like that, you got to take your shots, and I don't think they did. But just
well, they've had a nice season, notwithstanding that game last week. So hopefully they bounce back today. So over at PickDawgz Premium, we've got 8 plays today in college football. I've also got 1 play in baseball at the moment. I'll probably add a 2nd baseball play after we hang up here. And then I've got 3 NFL games for Sunday. A lot of big plays this week. And I've got my NFL game of the month. We hit our NFL game of the month in September on the Ravens against the Chiefs. I've also got my 2nd college football conference game of the year going today. We hit our first one with our SEC conference game of the year on Georgia against Kentucky. We're 31-12, our last 43 college football conference games of the year, so don't miss that one. And we've been on a nice roll, as Mitch mentioned earlier, 43-16, our last 59. Had another sweep of the board yesterday with San Jose State and the Houston Astros. So the best deal of all, of course, is to join for a week or a month and also to team you up with one of the other champion handicappers here at PickDawgz under the 2-for-1 handicapper special.
Any comment on what you think the official sports book of the NFL's position was on Monday night's game on the total or the side?
I can't even. All I'm thinking about is Saturday. Remind me what happened on Monday night.
Well, there was a team is down by 8 and they go for 2. And in a spread, the spread happens to be 6.5.
Okay, so this is a true story. So I was watching the game on my computer. I wasn't watching on TV because I was working. I'm watching on my computer, and obviously game theory says, you go for when you're down 14 and there's a short amount of time left in the game, you go for 2 on the first touchdown because you have 2 bites at the apple. And if you get it on the first bite, then you win the game with an extra point. So game theory says you do go for 2. So I'm watching on my computer and I've got Philadelphia plus 6.5.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I hope this freaking coach understands game theory and goes for 2 here. And I had no idea what was going to happen. I'm just watching it. Like, is it going to say extra point? Is it going to say 2-point conversion? Is it going to, and then it pops up 2-point conversion converted. I'm like, oh, good. The coach understood game theory.
But
so that was,
but it's not
the right move.
It's not like what the all-time great coaches have done. It's like down by, they weren't down by 14. They were down by 8 with an extra point pending. They weren't down by 14. They're down by 8 at that point. When
no, that's not the point. The move is when you're down by 14 and you score a touchdown, you always go for 2 to cut it, because if you fail, you're down by 8, and then if you're going to need the second touchdown anyway, because you're only going to have 1 more possession. So it's in a game where you have only a few possessions left. You do it because there's only 2 opportunities to do it, and if you fail to get the 2-pointer on the first one, you get it on the second one, and you have a much better chance to win the game that way because you can avoid overtime with the extra point if you succeed on the 2-pointer on your first one. It improves your chances of winning 13% from it's a huge play to kick to go for 2 on that first initial touchdown when you're down by 14.
I'm kicking the extra point there, especially at home.
It's not even close. That's one of the biggest things, and everyone understands that now. In fact, I think I was talking about this with Larry Ness. I think as far back, he told me this was happening as far back as maybe year 2000 in college football. He said a coach did that, and he told me that, and because I was talking about how this has happened over the last 5 years. He saes, "Oh no, even back
they
in
used to not have overtime in college football, so that's a different thing. College football overtime only started. We went over this. Like the NFL only started the 2-point conversion in 1994. I think it was. We looked at it, and then the college football overtime only started not that long ago either. College football overtime started. Let me see, college football overtime.
College football overtime started in 1996.
Yeah, so it hasn't been around that long either.
Started, I think, 1995 in the bowl games.
Yeah,
right?
because I was at the '84 Orange Bowl when Nebraska went for 2 instead of going for the tie, and also I mentioned that 2 teams same color playing each other. Syracuse Auburn, they tied in the Sugar that one year, and of course, famous.
Yeah, but if you've got a 50% chance of making the 2, then you can do the math and you can realize that how much of an advantage it gives you by doing it, because at the end of the day, you're going to have a 75% chance of having 2 successful. I'm sorry, you're going to have a 75% chance of not being in a worse position if you have a 50% chance of making the 2.
I'm kicking the extra point at home. I'm kicking
No,
how about all right?
Two.
How about the Cardinals against the 49ers? 4th and 2 from the 50-yard line, 7.5 minutes.
Kick that extra point.
7.5 minutes left to go in the game, down by 3, and you go for it.
Okay, so it's
you're down by 3. You're on the 48-yard line, your own 48. You're down by 3. 4th and 2. You have a rookie first-time starter quarterback. You punting or you going?
I watched some of that ball game. I didn't see that play.
They went for it. The Cardinals got the ball at the 50-yard line and threw a touchdown like 2 plays later to DeAndre Hopkins.
I had the loser in that game. I wish they probably would have not gone for it.
Oh yeah,
I never saw the play, but
I just think you see more going for it now than you ever have.
You do,
and it's because the rules are so skewed to the offense. That the coaches feel that stopping them or getting a 3 and out is just so difficult. I understand.
Well, I also think you're rewarded in a lot of ways by being aggressive too. I mean, it's not just the rule. Well, the rules play into it. You have a much better chance of.
Well, we can pick this up again. We can pick this up again tomorrow.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
We
appreciate you coming by. Of course.
Thanks, guys.
Big Al on an absolute heater.
Best of luck today, Al.
Luck.
Thanks, Joe.
Well, Al, see some good insight there. We don't always have to agree on everything. I'm kicking that extra point. I really don't care. I had the Eagles in that game too. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the effort that even if they didn't make it, that at least they went for the win for us. But
yeah, for sure.
I
did too.
Didn't make a lot of sense. So we're gonna bring in Brian, always our cleanup hitter here on the show, and I'm sure he's gonna gloat about that Cal cover last night against Oregon.
No,
they did not. They did not get the win outright, but they did cover. They scored on their first drive, and I said they wouldn't score all game. So there you have it.
I was going to say that Big Al said exactly what I said on Monday, that it comes down to mathematics, and it was a statistical right move. And it's always hard to follow legend Big Al, one of my favorite guys in the business, but he was right on it, and exactly what I said on Monday. It mathematically makes sense to go for 2. 14-point game in the fourth quarter. But anyway, that was one Monday, and we're on Saturday.
Show us. Just show me your work on that math problem. Anyways,
2-point conversions are 49.4% successful. So 2 opportunities would give you a really. Anyway, we're not going to get into that again.
Well, what do you got for us today, Brian? As far as a free pick,
maybe you'll like my free pick today, and easily it could have been a premium pick today. I'm going to take the Minnesota Golden Gophers at home here, plus the points. I rode Nebraska last week and just barely got a cover. As we've seen implosions as a regular theme here with Scott Frost and Nebraska Cornhuskers over the last few years. Minnesota at 3-2 has not had the greatest of seasons, but we saw Nebraska go to Illinois to start the season as a pretty big favorite and crap the bed. Minnesota has not covered a game at home this season. I really feel this easily could have been one of my top plays of the day. Golden Gophers 4-0-1 against the spread last 5 conference games. Minnesota is also 31-15-5 last 51 games as a dog. I think Minnesota has a chance to win this game outright, but I like to play it safe. I'm going to take the points here in the Golden Gophers.
Well, we know you like to play it safe.
Yes, I do.
Joe, what are you thinking? She's frozen. But no, Joe, what do you think of Nebraska against Minnesota?
You know what? I think Nebraska's quarterback is too tough for this Minnesota team. I'm going to have to go with Nebraska in this one, and I think it's going to be an under game. What we're seeing out of Nebraska, the totals finished under in 9 of their last 11 played on the road. I think their defense is solid. Their offense is solid. A solid offensive line. I think this team's too much for Minnesota, who has won 5-1 against the spread in their last 7 at home. I don't see them getting it done today.
PJ Fleck, not one of my favorite coaches, that's for sure. But at the same time, I liked the way last time out 2 weeks ago against Purdue in the rain, throwing deep in the second half when they had chances to win the game, and they won the game. They won outright as a dog in that game. It was the best they looked all season long. I think their whole offseason game plan revolved around Ibrahim, who got knocked out in that Ohio State game. Is gone for the season. And I think, you have to regroup, and I think Minnesota is now finally regrouped. Nebraska has been kind of close but no cigar. It's the way that they've been all season long. And I think that in this case, I think it's kind of the same thing. I don't know who wins the game, but 4.5 just seems to be too easy.
I think it's a field goal win for Nebraska. I think
At
they
best.
barely crap it.
Either they make the field goal or they miss the field goal. I think
I could see it going to overtime,
Yeah,
and that's 4.5 points.
Yeah, I could see it too. To me, Nebraska just close. I think they've made a big improvement, enough to save Scott Frost's job at this point. But
We'll see how they close out.
This is a 500 team. I mean, if they beat Michigan last week, who knows?
Yeah, and I think this line's too low because everyone's saying that they didn't beat Michigan. And I think it would have been higher if they came in beating Michigan, and I think they get this win off a loss.
But I think everyone saw that they kind of hung in there with Michigan, and they had Michigan, they had their chance, and all that other stuff. I think everybody saw that, and even that in that Michigan game, there was that miserable call before the half, the pass interference that gave Michigan the touchdown as opposed to getting the field goal. That was a 4-point differential in a 3-point game, and that it was the difference maker in that game. Was they get 3 there instead of 4, well, Nebraska wins the game.
Absolutely.
So, Brian, what else? You got any other picks, or are you just selling something?
That's it for me today. I'm just hawking my wares now.
Okay. Tell us what you got.
I tell you what, I'm going to try to follow up that 3-0 night. And this is the time of year I usually make hay in college football. I got my blank check college football play, my Saturday golden ticket, and my SEC game of the month. You get 5 plays for $50 at PickDawgz.com premium picks. But if you want 1 play, pick up my blank check. Should write any amount in there. Should be an easy winner tonight. $30 at PickDawgz.com. Or join that VIP. Join the VIP show. I'm going to definitely give out one of the plays on the VIP.
I will as well. So I will see you on the VIP show. Brian, thanks for joining us as always. We'll see you tomorrow and every day here at PickDawgz. Well, Joe, that's all our guests for today. You have anything you want to say to our audience? Any picks? Anything?
Yeah, I want to wish everyone best of luck first, but I also like this Texas A&M and Missouri game, and I know we've talked about this one all week, Mitch. First, I thought it could be a letdown spot for Texas A&M, but I don't see it being in this one. I think they're going to ride momentum and come out and get this win and cover the spread. I'm also liking the over. I think this is too low in this one. When we look at Texas A&M, they're 6-3 against the spread in their last 9. And I think they have a dominating game over Missouri, who's 0-9 against the spread in their last 9. They're not doing well. And also in Missouri games, this over has been cashing. In the last, I believe it's their last 5 games, we have hit that over. So give me Texas A&M minus the points and the over in this matchup.
I was going to give Western Michigan. The other one that I like is Pitt, that I didn't give out as a premium pick, but the line is really starting to move away from me. It's getting up towards a touchdown where I'm a little less comfortable, but I still like Pitt in that game, so it was a bonus. But instead, I'll give out Wyoming was my other choice here, and another one that just missed as a premium play for me. I think the Cowboys probably win this thing outright at home. The public all over Fresno State, who we've seen on TV a million times. Wyoming, a team that nobody ever sees, and basically always a good edge, just in that respect alone, and certainly probably the better team here. So I'm going to take Wyoming against Fresno State, and those Fresno State fans have not been very nice to me over the years. So even more reason to take Wyoming. Anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Let's make it a winning day. I'm going to try and act more professional tomorrow for NFL pro football. Of course, be sure to check out our premium and VIP shows, as well as our premium and premium picks over at PickDawgz.com. Let's make it a winning day. And like I said, we appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow, same time.